I just want to preface this video by saying that the footage I'm going to be showing on screen are some casual matches I did with a dude named Manabe, I think, on the Steam Blade Strangers. He's pretty good, and it was the most recent footage I had because I hadn't been recording a lot of my recent footage, so that's what I'll be showing, and he'll be beating me a lot. But I do want to get to the topic of why I like Blade Strangers. And the first thing I want to say, which may be a surprise to some people, is that I don't like tag team fighting games. And I think a lot of people do, and they are certainly popular right now with BlazBlue Cross Tag and DBZ Fighters. But there's a reason I don't like them, and that's because of their main mechanic, the assist. Because that assist is going to cause some problems for me. It's going to make blocking a lot longer. Every time you get hit, you're probably going to be blocking longer than a game without it, because most people will do a string or a series of attacks that you have to block. Then the assist will come out, you will block the assist, and then you will block another set of strings. And you may have to do this multiple times, depending on, some other factors. And I don't really like blocking a lot, so I don't really like that about assists. And another problem with assists is that they benefit playing lame, kind of. So an assist is a great resource because it helps with the block strings, but it also helps with your approach to attack another player. So if your assist is down, preferably you might want to jump backwards or walk away and wait until your assist is back up in order to use again, so that you can approach the other player a lot safer or a lot easier. And I don't really like that. I don't like an assist-based neutral game. It's just something I don't want to play. So, this not being a tag team game, I was more interested in it than some of the other recent games. And on kind of that same topic, I'd like to say that this game's block strings aren't very long, even for a solo kind of game, where games like BlazBlue and maybe other anime fighter games, there can be long bouts of time where you have to block, like Arakune when you get cursed or when people have lots of meter. It can be very, very difficult to see the end of block strings, and you can get stuck blocking for a long time, and it's not that fun. But in this game, you know that usually after 5 moves tops, it's probably your turn. And that's because the string system, you can get a light, 3 lights, a heavy, and a special move, then typically your turn is over. So, fairly short in my mind. And I think that another nice aspect is that overheads are very rewarding in this game. So in games kind of like Street Fighter, where the overhead is typically very unrewarding, almost just a means to get your opponent to stop blocking low, this game, it is a high risk because it can be full punished, but the overheads are I would say a medium reward for successfully landing one. You get about 25% damage, I'd estimate, from characters, or a little bit more, if you get a nice overhead and you have the meter to back it up. And I really like that. And also another trait that is very rewarding is you can do a lot of damage when hitting people out of the air, which I like a lot too, because I kind of think that jumping ruins the kind of neutral game I wish to play with other players. In my mind, neutral game is kind of like you're walking back and forth, you're throwing out pokes, you're dodging the enemy pokes, you're really working those ranges, the weaving in and out, as they say. That's really fun to me, even though I'm not very good at it. I like that kind of thing a lot. And sometimes that can be ruined by people that jump a lot. And it's just less fun when people are jumping a lot because you're trying to play that game. Maybe you throw out a normal, but they're already in the air because jumping has a very short startup, and then they punish your normal with, their air normal. And in a lot of games, jump-in, this one included, jump-ins are your biggest punish. And when you, as the opponent, have to beat jump-ins with low damaging anti-airs, it can kind of feel a little unfair. I don't know. It's just that if someone is spamming jump a lot, they hit one good hit, and then they do half your health, well, that seems a lot easier than you having to do, 5, 6 anti-airs to get that same damage. And that's not really a problem in this game. I mean, anti-airs can definitely lead to full combos, and a lot of times they lead to better damage than your normal combos. So I'm really happy about that. That there's more incentive to play the ground game. And that ground game is pretty fun, I think. There's whiff punishing. It's pretty difficult, but you can definitely do it. And the pressure game is interesting. There's, delayed normals to bait counter hits. There's the strings are a little ambiguous. It can be hard to see the start or end of a string, but not in like an unfair way. Like it feels right. Like it just feels really good. Like nothing's really that unfair about it. And like when you think of the high-low game and how many opportunities there are to actually do high-lows, it's even less than the max string length. So, as I said earlier, usually the max string length is about 5 moves. But you can really, realistically only do an overhead or a low after 3 or less of those moves. So really the mix-up opportunity is only going to be, bad within those first 3 moves. And then past that, you're just kind of wondering, hey, when's this string going to end? There's not that much pressure on it, but I feel like you can still get mixed up. And if you mess up once, you're taking a good bit of damage. So I feel like it's fair, but it's not something that takes a really long time. But it still tests the skill of the players. The last kind of general thing is that, Blade Strangers is a brand new game. There's a lot less legacy skill in this game than you might see in other ones, such as like the Guilty Gear remakes, games that, these characters have been seen before, they've been done before, a lot of mechanics are, moved over. The 3rd, 4th title, in the game's series. And I like that. I had a fun time learning and seeing what others kind of do with their characters and them learning what to do against my character. And I think that fun aspect is always going to be seen in the brand new fighters. So I chose Blade Strangers because it was new, and that's really cool. But I think a pretty big factor in why I like the game is my character choice. And I understand a lot of people dislike the character I play, her name being Curly Brace, because she's a zoner. She's the best zoner in the game, in my opinion, but I haven't fought too many Isaacs, so I guess that's up to debate. But I think a lot of people misunderstand why I play her. And it's a lot to have to do with, I don't want to have to wait to do things, and I don't want to have to wait for other people to do things. I think when I'm waiting, I'm not having fun. As I said with block strings, it's very similar. I mean, I understand blocking is kind of like a part of fighting games, and it's something you should do, but I kind of want it to be a little bit less. And that's the same here. I don't want to have to deal with someone that's always super defensive, that's always backwalking, that's forcing me to play a slow game. Because if I'm not a great zoner, then a lot of people just walk backwards. I mean, it's a really safe option. You get to see what the other player does. And my best option a lot of the times is just kind of passively walking them forward, passively getting them all the way to the corner, and then when I get them to the corner, I'm, supposed to do my thing, because they can't walk backwards anymore. But if they get around me, I just get even more frustrated, because they start backwalking some more all the way to the other side. I just don't like that. I like it because I like playing Curly, because she forces the other player to play aggressive. And I like that. I want there to be action. I want me to feel a sense of urgency. And I feel that a lot more when someone's trying to, go really hard in on me and try and, beat me up or whatever. And I see that it is kind of ironic that I am probably playing the character that I hate to fight most, but it's because she's the best backwalker there is. And I just find it really fun. And I think her character design also takes a lot of hard reads. And I'm not saying against low-level players, honestly. Like players that don't quite understand everything about the game, because those players typically can't get past my zoning. And that's because they don't pressure me enough. I don't even feel pressured when I'm fighting a really poor player. They'll walk, they'll, normal jump. They won't run or run jump. If I up machine gun while they're standing, they keep blocking, they don't move. I don't blame them. I mean, it's scary to fight Curly zoning game, but that's not really where the fun is. It's when you fight a good player and they understand that they're very good at going in, and they really want to get that W, and they know how to do it. And that's where Curly becomes kind of a more interesting game. As another bonus, she's also a very high damage character, or I consider her a high damage character, and she has good Oki. She has a lot of things, and people might think she's very strong, and I do think she is strong. Don't get me wrong, but I like that because those add a lot of variety to her game. If she was purely a zoning character, then I would have actually zero interest to go in. And that's not the case. If you get a hard knockdown and you have good Oki, you can go in. And even sometimes I decide I want to jump in, and switch it up. And I'm rewarded for it as well. So I like that about her gameplay. And her combo routes, I think, are pretty interesting, and they're varied. Like, when you do a combo and when you're figuring them out, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. Like, do I want to jump multiple times? Do I want missiles in this combo? Can I even fit the fireball into this combo? Do I want to use EX moves? And it's nice. It's a little bit of complexity that I think some of the other characters are lacking. Some of the more basic and bare bones characters, they don't get that kind of impromptu style of combo. I'm not saying these combos are actually impromptu. There's definitely like the right way to do the combo, but I'm saying that there are a lot of ways to, do a combo as her, which is fun. And for each position she has, it changes the combo more than probably others. Like if I'm in the corner, I'm probably going to be using a lot more missiles. And I get the wall bounce. If I get it off a throw, then I'm going to be using a lot more air attacks, stuff like that. I just find her combo routes more interesting and varied than some of the other characters. And she just has more interesting, kind of memorable moves in general, in kind of like an art and feeling way. Like, she has like a knife, she has a machine gun, she has a fireball, she has a missile. Her ult like changes the graphics, and it looks like the graphics from the game she's from, Cave Story, She has a lot of interesting aspects, and I think it gives her a bit more character than some of the other people. Like Allie, for instance, who at first glance, you look at her, and the only kind of eye-popping thing is that she has a bomb she can throw. Just kind of a generic bomb. And it feels a little bland. And I think when people look at the character roster, and my impression / initial impression as well, is that I think a lot of the characters feel a little bland, maybe a little basic. And I mean, I don't really blame anyone. It's because of their looks, though, and not necessarily because of their gameplay. I think each is unique in their own right, even though some may feel similar to each other, such as Solange and Lionsgate. Both these characters have a big sword. Both of them can throw a sort of fireball projectile. Both of them have DPs, and both of them have forward moving attacks, kind of like a dash attack of sorts. But when you play them, they feel different. And that's a good thing. I like that. Each character has their own thing. Some might feel a little bit similar to others, but I think they're unique enough that they're still all interesting. That if you play one character and you learn another, you'll find something new. And I like that. And I think the last thing I should probably talk about are the negatives. So those were the positives. I think the solo content is pretty lacking. I mean, there is a story mode, but it's kind of there because it has to be there, I think. And I don't ever play fighting games for their solo story experiences, but other players who do, they might find this one lacking compared to the others. And I think one day a solo experience in a fighting game will be, something great, something you really want in it. But honestly, I haven't found a fighting game like it. A lot of people say the Mortal Kombat series is good, and I had played those, and they're definitely not bad. I mean, they are a story, but I couldn't really remember anything about it, so. And another negative would be the player base. It's pretty low, well, on the Steam version anyway. I hear a lot better things about the Switch and the PS4, but you're only going to find 1 or 2 people online at any given time. And yeah, there might not be as much variety as people are looking for on the Steam version. I think the Switch has the most, and I think people are happy with it though. And a last kind of maybe a complaint I've heard from others that I personally don't have a problem with is that the damage is pretty high for a lot of the characters. This is a game where you can die in 2 hits pretty easily. But I kind of knew that coming in. And it's not like you die very slowly in other fighting games. Some are 3 or 4 hits. So sometimes dying in 2 hits doesn't feel that bad to me. It's just something I know will happen. And I don't really have a problem with it. It's just how the game works. So those would be my negatives, but overall, I like Blade Strangers and what it is, the enjoyment factor. If I could, convince someone to play a fighting game with me, it'd probably be Blade Strangers. Right now, anyways. It's just fun, interesting, and has characters I enjoy. So, yeah, that's about it. I hope you liked my thoughts. I hope you have a nice day. And comment below if you have any questions. Peace, peace.